What's going on, YouTube family? Today we're going to be talking about what happens when dealers can't sell their cars. Now, over the last few years, dealers have learned a lot of bad lessons on keeping inventory for too long. So I'm going to explain what happens when they buy them, when they hold them, and then ultimately what happens when they sell. Because I get so many comments after my last video of people saying, well, I don't understand why dealers don't bring the prices down. They should be if they're buried in these cars. I want to show you why that's very hard and why you're going to see even more dealerships going out of business. So first, we're going to be talking about what happens when a car rolls through an auction. Well, typically what happens is as the car rolls through, dealers are going to look at it, look at the value, and look at the condition. If the book on this car is, let's say, $25,000, they're going to probably bid it up to $25,000. Unfortunately, a lot of the older dealers are now retired, or the ones that used to haggle down on pricing and wouldn't overpay because they were using cash. But today's dealers, nobody has cash. 90% of these dealers have flooring lines, which are lines of credit. So for them to go up another $200, $300, $400 is no big deal. But then as you blink, next thing you know, you're up $2,000, $3,000 on a vehicle that just simply isn't worth it. So as this thing rolls through, you got a bunch of dealers that are non-educated that are holding up their hands saying, yeah, I'll bid on it. I want it. I want it. And it's an ego thing. Once I get to a point where I can't buy it for under wholesale or back of MMR is what it's called, I walk away from the deal. I don't want to mess with it. But dealers, this is a popular car. It's a G-Wagon. I want this on my lot. I'll pay more because I know people got money. And so let's say they bought it for $25,000. So we put our $25,000, but after you buy it, now you're going to have maybe a couple $100 for your flooring fee, another couple $100 for your auction fee. And that's just before you even get it to your lot. So now let's say you bought 3 cars. Once again, all these cars cost you the exact same. You're spending thousands of dollars on all these cars that are doing the exact same thing on your lot, sitting there waiting to be reconned. Now these cars need work. You're going to go through them. And that's when the clock starts. Every flooring line has a time date. Every 30 days, you have to pay what's called a curtailment. This is not only a principal pay down, but it's also interest and fees. And some of these things could be 7 points over prime. So you're looking at paying anywhere from 15% on the low end to 21% on the high end. So right from the get-go, let's say that day one, let's recon these cars. This car needs $2,000. This car needs $3,000. This car needs maybe another $1,000 to get it roadworthy. So we haven't even been for sale yet, and here where we're at. Oh, we got to remember, we got to detail the cars. We got to put gas into each car. So, okay, so let's say 2 weeks have gone by. Now the cars are serviced, ready to go. And so they're going to put these cars up for the highest amount of price. So if these cars all book for, let's say, $30,000, they bought them for $25,000. They're probably into them now, $27,000. They're going to say, you know what? Let's go ahead and put them up for $31,000 or $33,000 so we can make a little bit of profit spread, and they're going to leave them there. And what happens? 2 weeks go by. Guess what? They don't sell. Let's add on some more flooring fees and auction fees, interest and payments, your curtailment payments. Oh, and you got to remember too, we got to add that marketing budget. Car Gurus, Auto Trader, eBay, all these fees adding up. And so every month, these reoccurring costs are adding more and more to these vehicles. But if you've noticed, sales have pretty much stopped all across the United States. And you hear people constantly complaining that they can't move cars, that the car prices are down. So what happens? Somebody like yourself is a savvy buyer saying, you know what? I will give you $27,000 cash today to buy this G-Wagon. They're going to look at it and be like, well, man, I'm into a 27 grand. I don't want to break even. I'm in the business of making money. So guess what they do? They tell the customer no. They want $33,000. So let's say another month goes by. Let's add those fees back onto there because these cars are just not selling. People can't get approved. The banks are not working with them. Now we're here into our second month. Dealers don't know what to do. They're trying to bring in people without lowering the price, but they can't. They got to spend more money in marketing. So let's spend more money on, let's say, Facebook ads this time, Instagram, doing some other stuff to get these cars out there to get people looking at them. But as these people come in from social media, the banks are realizing, you know what, we don't want to lend more than $31,000 on this car. We think the book is somewhere around $27,000, so we'll loan you $27,000 on the car. So now they have to tell the customer you need $5,000, $6,000, $7,000, $10,000 down to buy this car. So now they're losing all their customers because they don't want to overpay. Well, guess what? Now we're hitting day 90. As of day 90 hits, what happens is a lot of floor plans or their lines of credit up their curtailments to maybe 10% or 15% of purchase price for principal pay down. So now you're paying even more money every single month for cars that you can't sell. And these fees just keep adding on over and over and over again. So now, if we sit back after 90 days, remember their goal was originally to sell a lot of these cars for maybe $31,000 to $33,000. Well, guess what? They blinked after 90 days. They're probably into these cars close to $29,000, maybe even $30,000. So what do? Most people like myself, I would take these cars, take them to the auction, and get rid of them because that's the way I was taught. 90 days, get it the hell off your lot. After 60 days, you lower the price. You want to get it out of there because every single month you keep it, as you can see, it gets more and more expensive. And this is the way we were taught. This is why flooring lines punish dealers that have bad business practices that hold on to inventory. But over the last 3 years, basically the pandemic taught dealers to do these bad habits and they keep these cars. You can't replace them. You got to keep them. You got to get all the money for them and they're worth every dollar. So now they're stuck with this overpriced inventory and they can't get rid of it. So now they can't take it to the auction because they don't want to lose money. And so instead of them lowering the prices, becoming more competitive, they actually raise the prices. And you can see this on Car Gurus. You'll see once they hit day 90, they'll try to raise it up before they drop it back down. It's a BS sales tactic, but it shows that like, oh, this car just had a price drop. Come look at it because you looked at it before. So now all these cars, let's say they raise them up to $35,000. Well, now they're even more expensive than before. People are not looking at them. And guess what? In 90 days, the book value of this car changed. Remember, the book value of these cars were somewhere around $27,000 or $25,000 when they bought them. Now that book's maybe $22,000 to $25,000. So now they're upside down from their original purchase price of $2,000 plus the $3,000 to $4,000 they put in every single car with maintenance, carrying costs, and everything else. And so this is where the dealers start to get squeezed. The flooring companies will look at them and say, hey, look, your portfolio on your lot is only worth, let's say, $75,000, but you owe $92,000 on this portfolio. So we're going to need a check for you to do a principal pay down tomorrow. Now, this is very rare. This only happens when dealers have problems paying their flooring lines. But as you can see, after 90 days, the fees just keep going up. The banks require more money to put down on these cars to pay down the principal, so they're in an equity position. So when the bank comes to repo them from the dealers, they don't owe that much. But the market's been falling so quickly, dealers can't catch up. Even if they pay, their principal pay down and their curtailments, they still owe more than what the car is worth because the book is dropping that fast. This is why I make a big deal about values dropping, not prices, because at the end of the day, the value is what's going to squeeze dealers into lowering their prices. But what you're seeing here is the last straw. This is where dealers basically have to shit or get off the pot. Do I lower these cars and blow them out, or do I hold on to them? And here's the problem. After that 90-day to 100-day marker, guess what? Some dealers still refuse to drop the prices, to sell the car at a loss. They say, you know what? I want to get all the money for it. I'm into it too deep. And it's that sunken fallacy of like chasing the money, good money after bad money. And they're always going after trying to put more money into something that they know is simply not worth it. It's very hard, especially as a dealer, where I've bought in 30, 40 cars and had to take back maybe 20 of those to the auction because they didn't sell in 60 to 90 days. It sucks. I lose thousands of dollars. You imagine losing $1,000 on each car that's, let's say, 20 cars. That's $20,000. If these guys were to take these cars to auction today, they're probably going to lose about $6,000 to $7,000 per car. If they retail them for what they have into them, they might only lose maybe $1,000 to $2,000. But dealers, like I said, for some reason, they don't like to do that. They try to hold on to them. The sales managers look bad if they get caught selling stuff for under what their value is. So a lot of times the used car manager will take the hit and actually take them to the auction and basically get hit really hard with selling these cars, and then they go out and buy something new. Now, the whole goal of this is if I lose, let's say I take this car to auction and I lose $2,000. Instead of keeping it another 90 days, I get a new car, and maybe this one sells in 30 days because I bought it cheaper. I bought the exact same car for maybe $4,000 or $5,000 cheaper, and now I can sell it and make some money. And then another one comes, I do the same thing. I probably sell maybe 2 of these by the time I sell the next high-priced vehicle. And unfortunately, like I said, dealers didn't learn from the pandemic. They're still overpaying. But I want to talk about what happens when the dealers can't pay. And this is where we're at today. Remember, like I said, the principal payments go higher the longer you have the term. The whole design of a flooring line is to punish dealers for keeping cars too long. Remember that. That's why we always tell you, if you're looking at car gurus, instead of sorting at the best, cheapest price, go to the oldest vehicle and work your way backwards, because the older it is, the more leeway they're going to have. And every dealer has this, whether you're a brand new dealer or an old existing dealer or franchise dealer, whatever, they all have flooring lines. So depending on which cars they have into it and how deep they are, you're more likely to get a better deal. But if they can't pay any more, guess what? The flooring company says, hey, you got to pay us either a principal pay down or you got to make your payments. And if you miss either of those, or if they see a sign of weakness, they will literally show up to your dealership. They'll block off the walls and they'll tell you what's going on. We want to see your books. We want to see what's going on. And this is what's called selling out of trust. A lot of dealers right now are selling out of trust because they'll sell this car, use the money to pay the bills, and then when they sell this car, they'll use the money to pay off this one. And this shell game is basically what gets dealers in trouble. They're robbing Peter to pay Paul. And eventually, the hot potato will basically stick, the music drops, and now they're left with a car that they have no money for. So when the flooring company finds out that you sold a car and you spent the money and you didn't have it, they literally will block off your dealership, take all the keys, and take all the cars off your lot. And then on top of that, they will tell every other line of credit you have that you're a piece of crap, you don't pay your bills, you're a fraudster, and they will all come at once and take everything you own. This is why it's very important. If you're a dealer watching this, you need to limit your liability. You need to get rid of your flooring lines. Cut them down. I don't care if you look broke. Dealers are all about ego for some reason. I used to sell a lot of my cars and I wouldn't buy any more. I'd only have 10 on my lot. And I used to hear at the auction, oh, Lucky's going out of business. He's not selling cars. And then I'd watch these guys with 60 cars in their lot get basically taken over by NextGear and all the cars taken away in one day because they wanted to look cool. They wanted to look like they weren't going out of business. It doesn't matter. Get rid of your liabilities, get rid of your debt, because this is what's crushing dealers. And the downfall is like I said, this has a negative effect when it comes to regular consumers, because now that you want to buy this car after the debt's been so high, when it rolls through the auction, you're not going to pay all this money for this car. It's not worth it. And so what happens? It runs at an auction again and again. And every week it goes higher and higher. And these are what we call no sales at auction. This is another thing that's rising. People don't get the money that they thought they were worth. And people paid way too much, not considering that the book values have been dropping the last 8 months. So this is the cycle that's pretty much going to put the automotive industry out of business. But I'd love to hear in the comment section below, what do you guys think of how dealers not selling cars works? Did you guys know that flooring companies charge a scaling curtailment payment where they have to do 5%, 10%, 20% principal pay down every single month? It kind of blows people's minds. Also, do you have a lot of dealers in your area that have the exact same cars for the last 6 months? Because this is a really bad problem that I talk about all the time on my channel. I have a Discord where I have a lot of other dealers there and we talk about this stuff. And I won't mention names, but there are a lot of dealers that I talk to that majority of their inventory is over 100 days old, which is horrific. Usually your stuff over 100 days should be maybe 1%. A car you got a smoking deal on, maybe it's a bait car, something that's like this G6x6 that's gonna bring people in. So it's not really, you don't care if it sells, it just brings people in. But when majority of your inventory is over 100 days, that is a very bad look. That is a recipe for disaster. So anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed my thing with my toys and my fake money. But also, if you have any questions or comments, leave them in the comment section below. I do take the time to read every single one. A lot of people think I'm a bot or something as I'm replying to comments. For the first 2 hours, I reply back to pretty much every single comment. So leave something down there, ask me a question, I'll try to answer it. And stay tuned on our next video. We got a great one coming out. See you next video.